Just pleasant to sit here without the crowds. I'm not sure if anything is visible from here, but there's probably about 80% cloud cover. So the closer you get to the horizon, the greater the density of clouds. So I doubt there's going to be. Back inside that door, which is inside the new tram or cable car complex structure that's being built, is where the porters apparently spend the night that are up on top at least. And they'll start early now, gathering loads and taking them on their strenuous trek back down. These things they hauled up on the tram yesterday, unloaded them with a winch crane type device inside the building now, and then they stacked them all over here. First thing these porters will do now, I'm guessing, it's unbelievable, but I guess they're going to climb somewhere and deposit these things. Of course, if it were America, we'd bring in a helicopter, drop them at the highest point, and then lower them by some conveyance. But this is an example of how inexpensive labor is. And my guess is these bundles of red plastic covered stuff down here are other materials that have to be hauled, same place that the roofing is going or the siding is going. This fellow starts with whatever's in that big bag plus two backpacks. It looks like about the size of mine, a little bigger. When the structure was built and why it was built is a good question. It was built for a tram. There's the cables, tower over there. But if you look at it, it's fairly old and it's already coming apart and has been for some time, to the degree that they felt the necessity apparently of putting this patchwork on to cover up the continuing damage, deterioration of it. You can see where it's cracked at the base, but I think that's reflected there. Appears to be on that corner there, so it has all the appearance of a downhill slippage. That was one of the little squirrels you just saw. They move at lightning speed. This morning in the pond that says "Don't feed the fish," I noticed one. He appears to be mostly white. I think there's another fish off to his right, but very faint through this murky green water. Then behind him, or above him in the camera view, there are two more redder ones, but again, difficult to see. It's enjoyable just strolling along this pathway and nobody here. Just the sounds of the porters above me carrying their loads wherever they're going. Here a slowly seeping wall of stone drips water into this little reflection pool that people throw coins and expensive bills into for good luck. Only straight up does the moon have a good view of Earth. Here a little bit of fall color, not often seen, and it's mainly just these little reds and then the browns of the dead leaves before they fall to the ground. Now is right at the end of my thumb where it says cloud dispensing, and I'm going to start down this way, come down here, make these two loops if I can, and then somewhere right there in the middle where you see the H to the left of it, I'll go there and pick up the cable car down. Before I do that, I'll go down and catch that lower loop, though, I believe. So farewell to this place, and here's our next route. Pretty white moth. Caught my attention just sitting on the steps. If he's not dead, he's probably relatively safe. If the Chinese see him, they won't step on him. About a third of the way up this good warm-up hill, just for starters. And this is the next part of the warm-up climb. Getting somewhere near the top of this mountain, or this peak I should say. Still no sun. Don't know exactly where the trail goes over that ridge, so I got a ways to go and maybe up to that building. This spot called Flying Over Stone. This is the stone that theoretically is flying over stone. We'll go right up to the top, not of that, but of the ledge it's sitting on. I doubt I'm at the top. We'll get out on this edge and we can get a really spectacular view. God, it's eerie getting out on this. If it wasn't for the confidence you have in this tremendously, hopefully solid rebar and cement railing. Looks like a little bit of sunlight reflection from somewhere. Okay, I've just come from flying over rock. I'm at the green dot. I take about this steep hill here, hit top over mountain ranges, which I assume means the highest point you can hike to, and then come back down onto the trail at Brights. Looking back from where I've come, we came up from the far right, and through that little gap in those buildings to the right, down past that new construction and that reservoir, up here this morning. There's the old cable car complex. All around me is the sound of constant drilling, as I assume they not only connect the trail at the bottom to the other side of the, it used to be planking, but then perhaps create a new trail. But the business that they anticipate in the future, and they necessarily have to get, if nothing else, from Europe and America as it starts to learn about the excitement of traveling in China, they'll build new trails to handle the load. Hard to imagine that there's water this high up, but apparently so. Here's another pretty little reflection pond, built solely for the benefit of the tourists, to add to the pleasure of being here, I'm sure. Maybe a wildlife consideration, but I don't know what wildlife needs anything this big that's up here. Toilets. Always useful if they are available. I'm not sure they are. Let's see. Nope. And as a consequence, the area behind it's used less spectacular and more cluttered with humans and buildings and stuff like that. Hard to find a view that's not cluttered with something human up here. Now that's actually the trail that goes down, that had it not been blocked, they're working on it, could have allowed us to make a complete circuit last night. Now you wonder what that peak is way, way over there. We're supposed to be going down the Turtle Cave route versus Narrow Cliff, which is on the other side of Mountain Hill to my left, forming a little loop. The down and up, it looks like. And perhaps this is the Turtle's Cave. I think that must have been the Turtle's Cave. Here there's some pretty fall foliage. I think this is a maple of some sort. That's some kind of a loop up there. That's the Turtle Cave on the left. On the right is Narrow Cliff. 100 ladders probably means 100 steps. I'm sure they're not kidding, but it just means 100 continuous steps. Note it's all been carved out. As the Emperor Qin Shi Huangdi said, there's nothing I can't build with 300,000 Chinese in enough time, including the Great Wall. Climbed that 100 steps without stopping, and that is a bear. Plus the steps at the top. Right now I'm in the upper left-hand corner, right where that loop starts to Lotus Peak. And I'm debating whether to go up that, then come down and go down the cable car and end it, or do the Celestial Capital Peak, or skip all of them. And down below here is the cable car route back. Started on yesterday.
What did you say? Portugués. Qué bien. ¿Cuántos idiomas puedes hablar? Francés, portugués.
Okay, the part I'm going to show you now is just part of the old trail that used to go up here. Much narrower, probably much steeper, much more difficult than this. There's another old sign that was cut in, who knows how long ago. I think that this purpose of this crack, and you'll notice that there's a series of holes, is for splitting that rock in half.